Hello everyone, this is Grandmaster Damian Lemos here for iChess.net. Welcome to this new video where we'll be discussing the Petrov, also known as the Russian defense. And we have this defense after e4, e5, white plays knight to f3, and here we play knight to f6. And this move is supposed to be quite boring and equal, but let me tell you, the Petrov has a lot of power and it is actually annoying for white players when they face this move. Obviously, after knight f3 we can also play knight c6, and here we are inviting white to play the Spanish with bishop b5, the Italian with bishop c4. He can also play the Scotch with d4. But when we play knight f6, we are playing this symmetrical variation, and usually white, if he wants to fight for the advantage, he has to play knight takes e5. So what we'll do in this video is an introduction to this opening. We'll see the main lines, the options, and of course you have to study more. This is, as I was saying, an introduction. We have more material. You can find a link below this video with more information about this system for black. And yeah, after knight takes e5, our move is going to be d6. You're probably asking, why not knight takes e4? Well, this move is possible too. The thing is, after queen e2, we have some issues on the e-file. Here, for instance, if we move the knight, then we lose on the spot after knight c6 check. This discovered check is deadly for us because no matter what we play, we lose our queen. Even if we play queen e7, he just takes it, and of course he wins. So knight takes e4 is dubious, but let me tell you that after queen e2, we are not losing yet. We can play queen e7, we keep playing symmetrical moves, queen takes e4, and we have d6. We are down a piece, and we'll get the piece back, taking on e5, and the problem is white keeps an extra pawn after playing d4. We take, and then d takes e5. This variation is worth a try. I mean, nobody plays it as black because they think knight takes e4 is just losing, but the truth is we can still try this, especially for blitz games, because white, he won't be aware of theory at this point. For instance, after knight takes e4, queen e2, queen e7, queen takes e4. Yes, this is supposed to be better for white. In fact, it is. But after d4 takes, this is the best move. d takes e5. If he plays queen takes, then we can take, pawn takes, knight c6. And believe it or not, in this queenless position, we have bishop f5, we have knight b4. We have a lot of possibilities, and we have some compensation for the pawn, for the extra pawn white has. So here after d4 takes, white, if he wants to get an advantage, he has to take with the d pawn, and we can play knight c6. As I was saying, if he plays accurate moves, then he's got the advantage, but he still has to play precise moves. Bishop d7, we still want to take on e5. We also plan queenside castle, and here knight c3 is the best move. If he plays something like f4, we still have knight takes e5, and believe it or not, we get the pawn back with this tactic. Bishop b5 is hanging. If he takes on e5, then we take his bishop. If he takes on d7, we simply play this move, and we are at least equal. He also has to trade queens. So here, as I was saying, knight c3 is best, and if we play this, then he's got the crashing move knight d5, and we are in trouble. Our queen is hanging, we are not going to castle queenside, we cannot do so because we have some development issues. So yes, in this position white is much better. In fact, after bishop takes d7, this is the only possible move we have, and as you can probably tell, playing with the king on d7, we are not gonna last long in this position.
Buying individual chess courses to add to your collection can get expensive, and waiting for the course or video you're looking for to go on sale can take weeks or even months. So, what's a chess enthusiast to do? Introducing the iChess Club, an exclusive community of chess enthusiasts that enjoy a wild range of benefits, including a permanent 40% discount on virtually all chess courses on our shop. Yes, 40% on all items anytime. But wait, there's more. For those of you who like physical DVDs, we offer unlimited free shipping on all items, anywhere in the world, anytime. You'll also get access to the entire iChess.club library, where we post over a dozen exclusive new videos every month. Our lineup of presenters is of much higher quality than anything you can find on YouTube, with exclusive videos by Simon Williams, Damian Lemos, Valerie Lilov, Brian Smith, Eric Rosen you can't find anywhere else, and even private appearances by world's top grandmasters such as Anatoly Karpov, Judith Polgar, Susan Polgar, and more. There are dozens of other benefits as well, such as an additional 5% off all items already on sale, a free 30-minute preview of every single product in our shop, and the ability to purchase items at the sale price up to 30 days after the sale has ended. There are so many benefits we can't possibly list them all in this video. So, join the iChess Club community today and start saving. Joining is easy and you can cancel at any time. So, what are you waiting for? Sign up today.
After knight c3, just to finish this variation, we can still play something like this. We can try queen b4. We are down a pawn, but in practice it's not simple to play as white, and we definitely have some compensation. I'm showing this just to clarify that this move knight takes e4 is not losing for black. Sure, we have some issues after queen e2, but knight f6 is not binding. We lose the queen there. We can still play queen e7. And in this line, things are not easy yet. White's better, sure, but we still have a game, and we can try this line if we are looking for some action as black. Of course, after knight takes e5, our main move is d6. There's no need to take the e4 pawn yet. First, we can push his knight back from e5, and then we take on e4. So knight f3, this is what everybody plays, but we need to know that a gambit, this crazy looking move knight takes f7, is also possible. And this reminds me of the previous line, the knight takes e4 variation. Knight takes f7 is more or less a line for blitz games. White is super aggressive, and after king takes f7, he plays d4. He keeps on sacrificing material, but he wants to get a good center and possibly advance even more with his pawns. So knight takes f7, king takes, and d4. Here is black. We need to play precise moves like c5 or bishop e6. I know this move is also possible. The thing is, this knight takes e4 is losing in view of queen h5 check. If queen f3, which is the obvious move, then we play knight f6 and we keep the extra piece, and we also took a pawn, so we should be winning. However, after yeah, knight takes, king takes, d4. This move runs into queen h5 check, and now, well, if we play this, we are not only losing the piece, we are also getting mated, because bishop e6, queen takes e6 is checkmate. So king g8, not a good idea. King f6 looks very bad. I mean, bishop d3, queen f3. I wonder if queen h4 is also working. A lot of ideas. So king f6 not working. King here is even worse. King e6, well, bishop c4, and we are getting crushed. If d5, he's got queen e5 check. So I guess the only real move we have is king e7, but then he plays queen e2, f3 is coming next, he gets the piece back, and we lost the right to castle. So this is a complete disaster for black, and that is the main point of the knight takes f7 variation. Playing d4 and hoping black takes the pawn on e4. But as I was saying, we can play moves like c5, we can try finishing our development as soon as possible, and black has an extra piece. So this line, we need to study this more carefully. And yeah, I made a deep dive course on the Petrov. I of course cover this line as well. Now I can tell you a couple of extra moves. After d takes c5, our idea as black is to keep on developing our pieces, and even if he checks us on c4, we always have resources like bishop e6. The more we trade, better for us, because we do have an extra piece, and this is of course favoring us. If we get an endgame, our extra piece is going to be better than white's extra pawns. So yeah, this line, you need to know some stuff, but the truth is black's extra piece is much better than white's pawns. So after d6, sure, white has other moves apart from knight takes f7. He also has knight c4, knight to d3. They are okay moves, but if he wants to fight for the advantage, he has to play knight to f3. And here we play knight takes e4. And as I was saying, white, he has sublines and he has main lines. When he plays the sublines, it is super easy for us to equalize, because if you look at that position, it is more or less symmetrical, especially the pawn structure. It is super symmetrical. So white, he needs to create something if he wants to fight for his opening advantage. If he plays a move like d3, then we play knight f6, he can play d4, we can even play d5, and we are transposing into an exchange variation of the French defense, which is of course very equal. We can still win afterwards, of course, but we know the symmetrical position is not offering white any advantage. He can also try, let's see this position again, d6, knight f3, knight takes e4. He can also try a weird looking move like bishop d3, which is winning a tempi because he's castling next, but I can play knight f6. And the problem for white is that the bishop on d3 is not ideally placed, and he cannot move his pawn on d2. That means bishop c1 has to stay there for a longer period. Sure, he can play c3, bishop c2, but in the meantime I can also play this, and I get most of my pieces out, and the game remains equal. So bishop d3 is not offering white any special advantage. As we were saying, d3, this is just equal. And another sort of exchange variation is queen e2. Now, knight e4 is hanging, and if we play d5, then we just lose a piece after d3, pinning the knight on e4. So queen e2, we have to play queen e7, d3, we play knight to f6, and now we see the queen trade is happening sooner or later, and we get an equal middle game. And when I say equal, I'm not saying it's going to be a draw. I'm just saying chances are equal for both sides. Then the player who's playing better chess is going to win. In the deep dive Petrov I made, we'll see a couple of examples where black got an advantage even in this queenless position. And by the way, in this position, white usually moves a minor piece. He's not taking on e7 because then we are developing the bishop for free. So he's actually waiting till we take on e2, and then he develops the bishop for free. So after this move, he's trying to take on f6. We have to take with the g pawn, and then he's breaking our pawn structure. So after this, we can take on e2. We let him develop the bishop for free, and we play bishop e7. We keep a very solid position, and we still have a lot of winning chances. That position is equal, but we can play safe moves like a6. We stop everything. Worst case scenario, I can even play bishop d8, and white doesn't have anything special here. So I'm trying to show you all the possible variations that white has against the Petrov. Of course, it is impossible to cover everything in a single video, but this is an introduction, and then you can analyze each line deeply. So d3, we said bishop d3, queen e2, all those lines are more or less sublines, but we have two main lines here. One of them is d4. He's not playing d3, he's not kicking our knight out from the center yet. He plays d4, and then he tries playing bishop d3 with the pawn on d4 with a stronger center. This is definitely a main line, and the other main line is knight to c3. After this move, you probably think white, he's not fighting for the advantage because he's proposing more trades. But the thing is, after knight c3, if we play a move like knight f6, then he plays d4, and yes, we have a symmetrical position, but white has an extra tempi. It's like he developed an extra piece. And after knight c3, if we take, then he can play this move, and now that position is not symmetrical anymore. The pawn on c3, he's got the d-file, his bishop can go outside, he can even think about castling queenside, and that is the reason why this knight c3 is very popular for white, because at least in this line, black, yes, remains solid, but on the other hand, white, he has some chances to fight for the advantage. And I'll show you one of my favorite lines in the knight c3 variation. Here black plays bishop e7, we need to castle sooner or later. We can also think about castling queenside with bishop e6, knight c6, queen d7, and queenside castle. That is a possibility as well. So bishop e3. In this position, as black, I like the flexible knight c6. It's like I don't want to show my cards yet. If I castle now, which is possible too, then it's like I'm showing my hand. And now white knows my king is here, he can play queen d2, he can queenside castle, and then he can try a pawn storm on the king side. If I had the king on e8, I can still try queenside castle as black, and then his pawn storm on the king side is just useless because my king is not there. So that being said, This is possible for black. We have 1,000 games with this move. Queen d2, bishop e6. I also like knight c6. I just want to show you an idea. Here, suppose white castles queenside, we can already think about moves like bishop takes a2. You probably think b3, king b2, and that's true. White wins our bishop. The bishop is trapped, but he needs to be careful. We're losing the bishop, but in return we open his queenside. So this is a well-known idea in this Petroff variation. So here, for instance, if he plays king takes a2, this is very risky in view of a takes b3 check. Now if he takes, this is super dangerous. I can play queen e8, I can even play c5, and suddenly all my pieces are arriving on the queen side. Yeah, queen b6, queen a5. This position is very dangerous for white, and his only move according to the ancients is king c4. Unbelievable. The king has to go to d3, e2 to find safety. So imagine how tough it is that the main move is king c4. But yeah, another trick, and this is also well known in this line. Let's go again. Knight takes, pawn takes, bishop e7, bishop e3, castle, queen d2, bishop e6, queenside castle, bishop takes a2, b3, a5, king here, a4. White, if he is smart enough, he can play a move like rook to a1. There is no rush to take the bishop on a2, and now, well, if I play a3, then he's just winning, because this pawn is actually protecting white's king. So after rook a1, I can try this move, but I'll eventually lose the bishop on a2, and I don't think white's queenside is destroyed at all. I think his queenside is just safe. So I lose the bishop on a2, and I probably lose the game as well. So in this line, queen d2, bishop e6, queenside castle, we know bishop takes a2 is a possibility, but in order to sacrifice in that fashion, we need to have a stronger development. So a move like knight d7 or even knight c6, I like both. Knight d7, I think this is more flexible because my knight can go basically everywhere. I can think about 2 or 3 different maneuvers. So knight d7, and now white, he has to play the wise king b1. If he plays a move like this, for instance, which is super provocative and aggressive, then I can sacrifice on a2. He plays b3, as expected. He wants to trap our bishop. a5, king here, a4, and then the situation is different, because this variation reminds me of the previous one, but I have better pieces. I already have a knight on d7, and I have more chances of bringing pieces into the queen side. So if, for instance, if he plays rook to a1, I can take, he takes. Now I can even think about sacrificing with bishop takes b3. We have some action on the a file, so rook takes, queen takes, king takes, and now even a move like queen a1 is gonna hurt, because then I bring the rook to a8. He's definitely getting mated at some point, and his first rank has some issues as well. I like what that computer says, bishop takes, removing this attacker from the king side and also allowing moves like knight c5. So yeah, this, I love this move. The king is trapped there, and basically all my pieces are coming into the queen side. So yeah, this is terrible for white. and you don't need to memorize all this stuff. Once you play bishop takes a2, you know you have to open the queen side in order to save your bishop, or at least destroy his castle. And yeah, rook a1, I love this variation. As I was saying, the moves are flowing, you don't need to remember this. As long as you understand what's going on, you'll find the sacrifices. And yeah, the other line here is, again, we get our pieces out, we are prepared to sacrifice. If he plays king b1, then we have a game going. We are not allowed to sacrifice after king b1, of course, but if he plays a move like this, then we have other continuations. a4, this is of course the critical move. King takes a2, we take on b3 with check, and now he takes. Well, he can try others like king b2 or king b1, but here, after king b1, we have a crushing move, which actually reminds me of a tactical puzzle. All we need is to bring the queen to the a file, and we win on the spot. So sure, we can take on c2, we can try opening the queen side, but rook a1 is crushing. If this queen a8 and queen a2, we are mating him sooner or later. What a beautiful mate with b2. Also queen a1 is mate. So king b1 is not helping. King b2, well, I can play rook a2, king takes, and queen a8. I don't see any way to stop queen a4. Well, actually this, but okay, I have c6, and this is game over. So here he has to play king takes b3. There's no other move. And in this position, we probably have more than a single move to claim an advantage. But the simple c5, trying to bring the queen to b6 or a5, this is more than enough to win. We have others. We can take on g5. We can even play rook a5, trying to play rook queen a8. We have all sorts of moves, but c5 is the most accurate. Queen b6 is coming. He cannot hide his king. Even king c4, which was working in other lines, it is not working here. In view of knight e5, he has to play this. And, well, this is, I mean, it is tough to believe white is gonna hold this position. Queen c6 is coming next. So, after c5, I guess the only move he has is bishop here, but then queen a5, queen b6, then c4, so queen a5. I'm attacking this, but I also have the queen a2 and queen a3 threats. So, yeah, there's nothing he can do here. If he protects the bishop, I mate him on a2, and if he protects the mate on a2, then I take the bishop on b5. So, king c4 is the only move, knight here, king d5, and okay. Here, I win one way or the other. So, this sacrifice, I've had the chance of playing this already. If you look on the database, you'll find a lot of games where black did this sacrifice on a2. Sometimes it is right, sometimes it is wrong, but the truth is, in practice, it is white the one who's defending and black is the one attacking. So even if you play the wrong bishop takes a2, you still have a lot of chances because your opponent has to defend and find precise moves. Remember, chess is a practical game, and in practice, you know, it is not that easy to play precise moves, especially when you're defending. So that's why I like this line for black. And as I said, if he plays a solid move like king b1, well, we still have a lot of ideas as black. We have a solid position, and you'll find a lot of games with this variation played by top players, both as white and black. The other main line, and this also deserves huge analysis, is d4. Here black usually plays d5, white plays bishop d3, and here my favorite line as black is playing with knight c6 and bishop e7, although we have other possibilities as well, playing bishop d6 here. We have other moves, but as I said, knight to c6 followed by bishop to e7 is one of my favorite lines, because black keeps a solid position, and whenever white plays with c4 we have the knight b4 reaction. So this is probably the main line. d4 has been the main line for years as white, but lately knight c3 has been gaining popularity because, as I was saying, white he more or less breaks the symmetrical pawn structure we get in the other lines. So that's all for this video. I tried showing most of white's possibilities against the Petrov, and as I said, this works as an introduction. I recommend you study each line carefully, and then you won't have any opening issues if you play the Petrov. In fact, you have a solid position, and if your opponent goes crazy, then it's going to be easy to get some counterplay and even get an advantage right from the opening, because you have a solid foundation and you have nothing to fear as black. So that's all. I hope you found this useful. I hope you could learn something, and of course I want to see you guys in my next videos. Thank you.